Vanguard, one of Nigeria's leading newspapers today, hosted the third edition of its economic discourse. It focused on the theme Human Development Index versus Economic Growth, Nigeria's Policy Options. Keynote speaker and chairman Faith Foundation, Mr. Fola Adeola, shared his perspective on the theme and how Nigeria's social issues and economic challenges can be addressed.
In my own analysis of Nigeria, the severity of our situation suggests to me that we may well already be in the minefield of evils. But even minefields must be mapped in order to be disabled. That said, I have been unable to distill just 5 evils like Lord Beveridge, particularly because our scope must extend beyond social policy, if any impact is to be realizable. What I have arrived at after much musing is a list of 12 giant evils, 12 as in 1 dozen. See how it looks like. That are fundamental to our present conditions. There are, of course, other evils, only that they are yet to attain the size of giants. Nigeria's 12 giant evils, in my view, are the following, and they break down as social, structural, economic, and psychological. Let me run through them. Evil of hunger. The inability of citizens to access food due to extreme poverty. Evil of ignorance. The absence of quality basic education, fueling an inability to make informed decisions about their leadership, followership, and lives. The evil of squalor. Decrepit living conditions from clean water to housing. The evil of disease. Preventable sickness and death, born of poverty, ignorance, and abysmal healthcare options. The evil of idleness, lack of jobs, and access to opportunity, resources. As a matter of fact, Lord Beveridge described the evil of idleness as one which destroys wealth. The evil of darkness, I've used the word darkness, the absence of steady or predictable power. The evil of voidness, void, like we empty this hall and it's void. Compounding the absence of power is a death of infrastructure, which are pillars of support to the productive economy, inadequate and poorly maintained roads, public transit system, etc., as translated to stagnation of key industries. The evil of barrenness, a failure to produce. We don't make anything, and therefore to generate adequate revenues to fund our development. The evil of wastage, a failure to manage even the available resources, poor expenditure, taxation, debt management, cost of government, particularly the National Assembly. The last 3 are the evil of aimlessness, rudderless, leaderless, visionless, directionless, and without order. Just existing, actually just subsisting. The evil of crookedness, intentional and devious creativity aimed at taking unethical, often illegal advantage of a poorly managed system. And lastly, the evil of insecurity, living in fear of violence, exploitation, without protection or just recourse. These are the 12 giant evils that I think confront us today. We may agree or disagree on my choice of 12. We can nuance, unpack, debate them, but all good debates are limited by time. Let us therefore take this as sufficient for the purpose of advancing this discussion. What we are trying to establish here is that we're a country plagued by some fundamental and pervasive problems, and that confronting those problems systematically and comprehensively is the responsibility of a responsible government and must be the foundation of policy making. Any national agenda that does not address or at least consider the breadth of our affliction is by definition inadequate and unworthy. You cannot restore health to an HIV patient by treating pneumonia. The turnaround narrative now Can our present circumstance be changed? That is my next question. Or are we beyond redemption? I believe they can be changed. I believe redemption is possible, but I also strongly believe that it cannot be accidental. It must be deliberate and systematic, because there are too many of us for natural resource. There are too many of us for natural resource booms to be a ticket out of penury. And there can be no mistaking the fact that we are a nation in penury. Although the scope of Nigerian turnaround must necessarily go beyond social evils, I have ordered my dozen giant evils in this way for a reason. Listing the social first and not second or third, because having first made the point that our policy priorities must be entire and mutually compelling, I also believe that order, not priority now, but the sequencing of our thoughts and interventions must begin with the people. To the extent that it is people who make up a nation, their lives must matter first, and their needs must lead our other priorities. My reasoning rests on the strategic logic of starting with the end in mind, and I will give you a non-statistical, non-clinical, though no less valid insight into my leaning on this. I grew up in a world where parents considered their children their only investment and made financial sacrifices for the child as well as the parent's future. For the child and the parent's future. Parents sometimes communities ensure that children were fed, that they were healthy, and that they went to school, often at great personal cost, in the belief that those opportunities will afford the child an opportunity to build a better life for himself, and that the fruit of that improved future will be shared by the collective. Oftentimes, there were trade-offs between children on the basis of aptitude or attitude, or both, sometimes for gender, but the basis and fairness of the trade-offs notwithstanding, they were made. The result was that the poor birthed the rich. And many of the successful people we celebrate today can speak of humble beginnings. Between the knowledge of want and a refusal to go back to it, and the sense of responsibility imbued by the sacrificers, the motivation to succeed was not in short supply. From those to whom much is given, much is expected. So goes the adage. And in order to give, parents went without. They borrowed. They nurtured. They nurtured a sense of responsibility. I believe that a developing nation, particularly one plagued as we are with these many evils, must take the same view that its leaders must, as custodians of citizens, prioritize the development of people and do so with an investment mentality. I believe that by first planning for its citizens, a nation puts itself in a position to understand what its actual financial requirements are. For those of you who are commercially inclined, we can call it a target budget, and can then set economic growth goals and unpack the strategies by which to achieve them.
The third annual Vanguard Discourse featured a robust panel session with seasoned economists, bankers, and business leaders sharing their views on the dynamics of the team. The editor-in-chief of Vanguard, Mr. Gbenga Adefaye, shared the essence of the forum.
Well, we chose this theme because we are worried by the variance, the disparity between the population growth and the economic growth, and all the negative reports about bad behavior, nasty profile, capital of the poor, number of children out of school, and all of that. And we thought it's good we engage people, especially the tenants of power. They are leaders now. Our hope is that the output of this, which are going to make a feast of in publication, that listening, they are participating, and then, of course, we are going to send the document to them.
Chairman of the occasion and former Minister of National Planning, Dr. Shamsuddin Usman, emphasized why Nigeria needs to have a robust and strategic economic plan.
Well, one of the key things is to have a very clear focus in terms of where are we heading. They say identifying the problem is 50% of the solution. So a very clear and focused identification of the issues, then working closely with those who have the knowledge of how to address the issues, and using data, because that is, pro-share, that's an area that you people specialize. Data is very critical, because if you are addressing a problem and you don't understand the nature of that problem, it's like just going to a chemist to buy medicine without really knowing what are the effects of that medicine, what are the side effects, and so on and so forth. And that sometimes the disease that you think you have is even the wrong disease. So it's very important to have a clear understanding of the issues, to have a focus, some people call it vision, as you heard today, and then to have very clear policies that are detailed, and targets. Targets are very important, that are traceable, that are smart targets, that you can be able to then be able to address the problems as you identify them.
With a challenging human development index and slow growth pace, Nigeria beyond 2019 must take a bold step in adopting policies that will unlock opportunities, attract investments, and drive an inclusive economy.